Welcome into another episode of the Three Fever Point After podcast. I'm your host, Alex Anderson, joined as always by the offensive coordinator of the Bossier Bearcats, Jeff Harper, and another special guest this week, Airline quarterback Ben Taylor. Ben, excited to have you on, man.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and we have said your name many times this year on the show. Your stats are outrageous coming in. Let's start. Do you know your season stats off the top of your head?
I think around 20 touchdowns, 2,000 yards, something like that.
And a lot of that came last week.
Yes, sir.
What was it, 700 yards?
600, 700 total rushing, passing yards. I don't know how many touchdowns.
Yeah, so many you forget at this point.
Yeah.
That's we don't see a lot of guys do that, do we, Coach?
No, and being around high school football for the last 20 years, you never really see somebody do that year in and year out. I mean, even in the Evangel days, 400, 500 were big games.
Right.
300 was the norm. Well, he's doing 300 and a half.
Yep.
And so 500 plus yards, 7 TDs, just what I saw on his dad's Facebook page is absolutely incredible.
That's it's special, and it's so fun to watch. And really the past 2 weeks for you guys have been wild games. Take me back to that game last week with Captain Shreve. I mean, 69-68, you got the 1 point more you needed. I mean, to be part of a game like that is crazy in itself, but just talk to me about that night, and it felt like so many things just kept happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game all the way around. Shreve's a great team, and they had Jamar Say, great running back. But our offense was near perfect. We scored every single drive all up until the fourth quarter. Like the last 2 drives, we just kind of slowed down a little bit, and Shreve got some momentum. But offense was rolling, defense played hard, but just needed to get a few more stops there.
Right.
And because we were up 3 possessions at halftime.
Yeah.
And if we could have kept that up, then it would have been good. Just relax the rest of the game. But it came down to the last minute.
Yeah, and we'd obviously I kind of asked you this question early in the year when we were doing our previews about all the quarterbacks in this league, and you just had shootouts with 2 good ones in Pop at Evangel and then Savage at Shreve. The quarterback play in this league, with you included, has risen so much. How fun is it for you to be able to do what you do, but then watch some of these other guys have some success too?
Yeah, it's super fun because, every quarterback around here I know. Like me and Brody, we grew up together. I know Malachi, me and Peyton played 7-on-7 together. But it's also fun for me. I think about we're going against the other team, but I'm also in a QB battle with the other quarterback and the other team. So I'm a competitive person. So it's always fun to have that competition, especially with all the good quarterbacks we have around here.
And we have so much fun on a Friday night. Our 5A block is always one of my favorite ones because you're going to see just something awesome. You're going to see some offense. You're going to see some great games. And this league has really lived up to the hype this year. And I think those past 2 games has been a testament for you guys. There really isn't an easy out.
No, this district is just insane all the way around. You got Evangel, them coming up, Huntington, Shreve, a bunch of good teams. And the coach tells us every week the biggest game of the schedule is the week that we're playing. Right. So this week is the biggest game of our schedule because, it's the next up game, and just no team can be taken lightly. You can't go out there playing down to any opponent. You just got to come out and play hard every single game and just do your best. Yeah,
and I know you've worked with Ben, known him for a while. How have you seen him elevate his game as he's gone to his senior year?
Well, I remember when he had to take over and start his freshman year at Airline. And those were some tough days because, you're playing a 5A schedule, and then boom, you have a new coach come in and put in a new system, and just to see the work ethic. Ben doesn't have a problem working. He enjoys it, but he really wants to win every time he's there. So when he would come to our workouts, him and LJ and Harrison and Owen, when Owen's there, are just getting after it. We're keeping score, and those guys are pushing each other. The one thing I know that he really wanted to spend a lot of time on in this offseason was he wanted to get his footwork cleaner, and he wanted to be able to generate more spin on the deep ball, and he's done both of those. When you watch the video from when his sophomore year to what you're seeing now, his off-platform, off-schedule throws, and the ability to throw on time accurately to any receiver anywhere on the field, it's night and day. He's really, he'd have to hitch up a little bit when he was younger. Now he can just back foot hits balls out, and And I know that Scoggins really wants things to be on time. He's somebody that really wants the ball out fast, because there are times that they're releasing, everybody out in the pass routes. And so, he's worked on those things, but the main thing he's really focused on is, more spin, better deep ball, more velocity, and being able to put the ball, wherever he wants to. And then, if you watch him off platform, especially to his left, people don't realize it. I remember last year we're sitting in a coach's meeting and Jess Curtis goes, "Taylor doesn't ever throw to his left. We're going to flush him to his left." So he literally steps up, rolls to his left. They're in trips. They have a corner route, and he's got somebody in his face moving to his left, throws a dime in the back of the end zone. Dude toe taps, touchdown. And Jess just looks at me and shakes his head like this. He's like, "It's unbelievable." Like, he can make all the throws. So answer your question. He has put in work to be able to do and refine certain mechanical things, but the main thing that you see is his ability to make every throw.
Right, and we have seen it, and even from an amateur perspective like me, I do notice some of those things. One thing I feel like has grown so much with you is the confidence when you're out there. You always seem very sure of where the ball's going, and you get it there. What's given you that confidence, and how confident do you feel in the field?
I feel extremely confident, especially, now, my senior year. I think a lot of it has to do with being a senior and just knowing that, all these guys below me, everyone in the field is looking up to me. Even the guys that are other seniors and starters are still looking at me because I'm the quarterback and the leader of the field. And one thing that really stuck out to me and Coach Scoggin that he texted me about is the Evangel game when it came down to it and they were up and we had that last drive, had like 3 minutes on the clock. And I just looked at him, I was like, just telling him like, wow, like look at this atmosphere, look at all the people around, this is just so fun. And that he told me like that just made him feel more relaxed, didn't have any worries because he knew I didn't. And we were able to go down there and score. So a lot of just being a leader and being more confident has to do with, getting older and being more comfortable with the offense and just your surroundings on the field.
And Coach Scoggin obviously has played a huge role in all of this as well. It has almost been like magic watching your offense run. I know he has a big part of that. What's it been like working with him these past few years?
It's been great. I tell so many people he's the best head coach I've ever had. Yeah. He's like a mastermind. The plays he has, the plays we put in, just the motions, everything that he runs, it just clicks in me so easily. It's like my type of offense. I love running it. All the kids love running it. It's just unstoppable.
The only criticism I have of Coach Scoggin is it's so hard to not put the S at the end of that name.
Just
everybody does it.
I do it.
Everybody does it.
Sydney called him Scroggins last year before. It's like, and Coach Scroggins said, I'm like, okay, it happens. But and for you, I know we've talked about Coach Scoggin a ton and that offense that Airline runs. You guys do run something similar at
very
Bossier.
similar, yeah.
Talk to me about that offense from a scheme perspective and why it is so effective.
Well, it's really David Feaster's brain,
right?
And what makes the offense work is knowing how to set plays up. And David Feaster is a genius at calling plays. And Scoggin, got to be on the sideline with him at Parkway and other places and just learn from him. And so when it came down to him being a coordinator, now they're no longer there together, he just developed his own flavor to it. And so it makes it easier for the players. A lot of it, the kids know you don't have as many formational rules. So you have a few base formations, but you can get in spread looks, you can get in eye wing looks, and then you have your base runs, and how how defense is going to set up to it, and so you have your answers, right? And then when you move a piece, you have your answers, and when you move a motion piece, you have your answers. And so the more that you can get the guys to understand what it is they're doing, the easier it is for the offense to actually execute. And so it's one of those where it's got play actions built into it that make it an explosive offense. But here's the deal. Regardless of how great the offense and the scheme is scheme. There are other high schools that run really good schemes. You got to have a trigger man. You got to have a downhill runner. You need a really good left side of that offensive line. They need to be pretty good. And you need a go-getter out there on the outside. And if you have those pieces, you got a chance to be pretty special. You think about the people that played in that offense. You got Ben. You got Keandre Woodtee. You have Brandon Harris, right? You have Colby Copeland, who played in that offense. Terrace Marshall. Yep. Artavius Lynn. Tay Mike Lynn. Shout out to my boy Tay Mike.
There we go.
C.J. Morgan.
Yep.
You're talking about big-time dudes. Now you got J5, right? Kenny Darby. You got even the airline contingency that's putting up crazy numbers. And it all goes back to the fact that they understand what they're doing. And that goes back to coaching. At the end of the day, the offense works because they got great coaches and great play callers.
I tell you, Coach is good at working with quarterbacks, obviously, but he's really getting good at this TV stuff because he went right into my next question. He's learning some stuff out here. Your weapons. Obviously, you put up those numbers in large part because you have guys that can go get those passes. Talk to me about those guys on the outside. They've been unbelievable.
Yeah, they're just insane all the way around the board. Of course, we have Jarvis and Kenny, but we also have Aiden Baker, Micah Johnson, DJ in the backfield, just all-around athletes. I mean, Aiden's tight end. He's like 6'3". Micah just joined the team this year, but he has a whole lot of touchdowns, been a huge factor at T. And just Kenny and Jarvis, they're unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
Shreve, we had like 6 seconds left in halftime to go up 3 possessions, and I just throw him a fade and a touchdown just like that to go at halftime. But, I mean, Jarvis had a crazy game. It's just every single game it's easy playing quarterback. They make my job so much easier knowing that if I mess up on a throw or kind of throw it a little bit, like not directly at their chest, they're going to go get it. Wherever it is, they're going to go get the ball, and that makes it so much easier. And then you have Jarvis. He can get a T, he can go anywhere and just run the ball. They're all just like dual threats all the way around the field.
Another TV lesson. I asked you this off camera first because I wanted to gauge your reaction because I did want to ask you in the middle of the pod here. Haven't had an opportunity yet to talk to someone who was on the other end of our Southern Classic Chicken Crunch of the night. It is a new segment that we started. We look for the biggest hit. And first week of the year, Jamboree, there's Ben Taylor taking a shot there from Parkway. So I got to tweet it out. You know, I didn't tag you in it, obviously. But you did like it, which I loved.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw us do that?
It was a good hit. It was a clean hit.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't a flag. I was kind of running out of bounds, not really expecting to get hit, but he's a hard hitter. He's a strong guy. He came flying in. He hit me pretty hard. So, I mean, if that's what y'all do, like that's what you got to post because, I mean, that was probably the hardest hit of the week.
It was.
But when he texted me after the game, told me it's all love and all that.
Right.
I mean, I know him. We're good friends, so that's just how it is in football.
Yeah, that's it. Well, see, that's the kind of attitude you need to be in the position that you're in, and so obviously that happened in the Jamboree against Parkway. Here we are now, 2 5-0 teams in Bossier Parish. Don't get that a lot. It will be our game of the week. Talk to me about that matchup. Obviously, we know the situation with Parkway, and they're going to be missing a lot of guys. Didn't seem to bother them too much last week. What do you think about this matchup, and how exciting are you, or how exciting is it to have it?
We're pretty excited. We're excited for the game. They're a great team. They're 5-0. We're 5-0. So, I mean, it's always a good matchup. 2 years ago, my sophomore year, the district championship was against them at our place, which is the same exact thing as this year. And they lost a few guys, but they still have some crazy athletes. Mayo, C.J. Dudley, and all them, who had a crazy game against Bird, which is a pretty good team. I mean, they were both undefeated going to that game, I'm pretty sure. So, and they beat them pretty good. So, and they have a huge defense. They're good all the way around, and if we're not playing on our A game, then they're going to come out and beat us. So it's not a game that you can let up on or just kind of take it lightly. You got to be 100% on your game all 4 quarters.
And Coach, if we sat here week 1 and I said, well, look, coming up here in week 6, we're going to see undefeated Airline and undefeated Parkway, and it's going to be Ben Taylor versus Gavin Farrington. No way you would have believed that.
No, and Gavin's a kid that we know very well. He used to train with me when he was playing quarterback at Elm Grove and Parkway before transferring to Shreve. He is a world-class lacrosse player, and he's already signed and committed to Centenary to play lacrosse. And so, I'm excited for him because he took the challenge, and it says a lot about him.
Right.
He was the student section leader there on Friday nights cheering for the football team, and people would look at that and make fun of it or whatever. There's no reason to do that when you realize that he's a Parkway guy. He loves his school, and then they call and say, hey, would you be interested? Shows up to practice, learns the offense. They put in something, which I gotta just say, Coach Brotherton and his staff did a really good job of putting things in that he could execute where he didn't have to overthink and worry, and they didn't ask him to do too much. He managed the game very well. The 14 throws I think he made, he completed 13 of them, so things that he could do well, and then he made sure that they were lined up right, and then they're getting after it and execute the plays. And so I'm excited for Gavin, really am. This is a different animal when you're going on the road,
Right.
And you're playing Airline at home, and Airline, they pack the place out. Airline's a big stadium. It's the biggest
Yeah,
one
it's
in
great.
Bossier Parish. And when Airline's good and Parkway's good and both sides are full, there's not a stadium around here that's like it. I remember those days when Airline used to just dominate everybody in the 90s, and I had to play there.
Right.
When they were a 9-1 team, and so it's going to be a fun atmosphere. I'll tell you, to go back to the question, no, I would have never thought that. But if anybody could do it, it's him.
Right.
If anybody could come out of the student section and help his team win, it's him. That's just the type of kid he is.
Well, I was the student section leader in 2007 at Houghton, and there's no way in the world I would complete a single pass. How's y'all student section leader? Got a good arm on him?
I don't even know who he is, honestly. But we do have a good student section, so
Oh yeah,
that
certainly.
helps.
We love that. And and for you, from the other side, someone that's been in this position for years now, to see what Gavin did, I mean, how do you even process that?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I first heard about it, I was like, obviously, wow, that's crazy. Because, I mean, I know him. I played baseball with him years ago, and we played summer ball together. We've talked a few times every now and then, but I would have never thought that he was going to come in and lead a 5-0 really good football team to the rest of the season, and
Right.
maybe going into playoffs, depending on KB. But, yeah, like he was saying, he's a great kid. And if anybody could do it, it is him. He does a good job. He's coachable. So if he can run the offense, he can run the offense. And we'll see what happens on Friday.
Now, I don't think Airline has a lacrosse team, but
No, sir.
if they did and they said, Ben, we got to have you, how's the lacrosse game?
I can't play lacrosse.
Neither can
I don't know a lick about lacrosse. I could not go out there and play lacrosse now.
Yeah, well, thankfully we don't foresee that happening
Yeah.
anytime soon. So, so what we do now, Ben, is we kind of go through some of the games that we're going to see this week, and feel free to chime in at any point, because me and Coach have been known to ramble from time to time, especially at this part. So we talked about obviously your guys' game of the week, but there's also another one, Sydney Lane's game this week. North DeSoto hosting undefeated Minden. It's going to be a war.
It is, and I don't know if people paid attention to the scores last week, but North DeSoto had a tough one with BT.
Yeah, for
BT's
sure.
good, and Minden is really good. And so we turned on the film preparing for Loyola this week, and we get to watch. I get to see Minden on film, and they're big, they're physical, they've got good athletes, and they're really, really good on defense. I mean, really good on defense. So that is going to be an interesting one. And you and I will make picks all the time. Man, I'm really leaning toward Minden in this one. I'm gonna be honest. When I watched it on film, Loyola's really good.
Right.
Okay. It was decisive. They won 28-13, and it was a decisive win. So I really think that Minden is a force in 4A, and they can make a deep run this year.
Yeah, Daniel was impressed with them as well when he saw him last week. Yeah, it was our game of the week last week, and Daniel was impressed. We know what North DeSoto it brings to the table. Obviously, they're still without Cole Corey. Our photographer at the Booker T. Washington game last week, he was he did say, it did seem like they were struggling a bit, but that's not abnormal, through a high school season. So, yeah, I think this game, and I don't think, again, it's similar talking about matchups we didn't expect maybe to be this good. I don't know. I didn't foresee this being perhaps a district championship game.
No, I mean I didn't either. But people have been telling me that Minden is turned the corner, and they had a lot of dudes on the sidelines, and they had a lot of talent on the field. So, well coached, two well coached teams. We talk about it every week. Defense, run game. They travel and they do both very well.
Well, a lot of Thursday night games because they're on fall break. So, we're going to see the battle for the Wooden Hippo between Houghton and Benton on a Thursday. A handful of other ones, Evangel at Shreve on a Thursday. That's probably going to be, two teams that you just saw. I would assume you expect that one to be pretty good.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. Shreve, they have a solid defense, and they're pretty big up front on the D line. So, but Peyton can scramble. He's pretty fast. He'll get out of there and make some throws. But I'm just thinking about how Evangel will be able to stop Jamarce,
Right.
Shreve's running back. So I think it'll be a shootout. I think they're both great teams, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Your job might be on the hot seat here, buddy. Ben's
better believe
pretty
it.
darn good.
I think he does everything well.
Yeah, well, I don't know, the 3 Fever Point After podcast with Ben Taylor. Has a nice ring
It's got a
to
good
it.
ring to it.
Yeah, and both of y'all have thrown your share of touchdowns in your life. Another game in this league that I think is going to be very interesting, Bird at Huntington. Another test for the Raiders. Bird, obviously, you know they're coming in on fire after what happened Thursday. What do you think about this one?
Well, Bird got off to a slow start against Parkway. I was there, and we've already talked about Gavin and what he did. Harrison Ayers did a really good job too. They did everything they could to make sure they had answers on defense for what Bird does well. And so Bird started doing some different things schematically that got a pitch man free on the edge. And they scored 3 long touchdowns on those plays and then put a couple of good drives together. But Parkway forced turnovers, and Bird doesn't normally turn the ball over. And so Parkway scoring every time they have the ball, and they're actually kind of going opposite. They're not trying to go as fast as possible. So Bird now is forced to score every time they have the ball. Well, when they're down, that makes it tough. But it was 40-35 in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
All right. And a turnover late in the ball game flipped it, and Parkway took that 46-35 lead. So Huntington is an animal. I've told you they were a dark horse from the very beginning. That if all things stay the same, what week do y'all play Huntington?
I want to say week 10.
Wow.
I think it's our
That
last game.
could be the district championship. I'm just saying. That Huntington is legit.
Yeah.
Now, last week the game was a little close, but this week Stephen Dennis does a really good job of scheming teams up defensively, and that is going to be another interesting one. If Bird just does what Bird does and doesn't turn the ball over, they should win the ball game.
Right.
They should beat anybody they play. But if you get the formula to really get Bird off their game is get them down a couple of scores, and then you score every time you have the ball or chew the clock. One or the other. If you can do those two things, you can beat Bird. But you're not going to stop them for 4 quarters. And so that's what it's going to come down to is really turnovers. Who doesn't turn the ball over, who makes the most of their opportunities. That one's going to be a hard one to pick.
Yeah, and Huntington obviously had that close game with Evangel last week, and that's kind of been the theme for Evangel this year. I was actually talking to Denny Duran today about doing a future story on Bob Griffin, and we talked a little bit about the season. That's kind of what he said. Like, we're right there.
Yeah.
He didn't feel like there was a lot they need to change because they are so close. It's been interesting to watch them, back in 5A, and they've certainly been there. They were there with y'all, there with Huntington last week. So it's interesting to see how they'll be against Shreve. I feel like Shreve's a little similar. Yeah,
I think that the Plater kid at running back he's a force. He's really good. So if they can. They're going to have to stop one or the other, because if you give Savage time in the pocket, he'll pick you apart.
Right.
So a good running game opens up a good pass game. At the end of the day, they've got to be able to stop one or the other. And Shreve's a team. They can tell you, Shreve's a team that if they have to throw it every play, they've got the athletes to go make plays. So that one's going to be another, I think, close game.
And I've been impressed with Brody this year, honestly. Tough to come off that injury.
Sure.
And the way his high school career has kind of gone, it's been a lot of adversity along the way. And I'm happy for him to see him having some success. I know it's a guy that you're friends with. So it's good to see him. And, it's tough to root for all you guys, because to get to this time of year, you're playing each other. So it's tough for us. Now, one more game I did want to talk about. Not as much as the game, but the teams in it. It's another thing that if I told you at the beginning of the year that we would see undefeated Lakeside versus winless Manny.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Manny's dudes aren't there. They don't have the same cats that they've had. And that's not a slap on what they've got.
Right.
They used to dress 80 some odd kids, and so it doesn't look like they have the same number. I've watched some of their games. They've got football players. They've got good talent. They did not play an easy schedule. So there's a lot of that goes into it. Don't look at the 0-5. They're going to the district, and what do we know about Manny? They run the district, okay? It just probably wasn't set up to be where they're going to be sitting at an 0-5 deal. Lakeside, Coach Ware's done a really good job.
Gotta love it.
Generate some excitement. Got a scheme in that they really can execute. Santa Lucy's is their stud on defense, can play some offense too. So that's a matchup problem. And I do think that at the end of the day, Lakeside's finally going to play a team that is extremely hungry, athletic, and better than their record says.
Right.
Not saying that Lakeside hasn't played anybody. What I'm saying is they're better than an 0-5 record.
Right.
So that's the one thing that they can score points. I mean, you see their games; they're scoring points. And so I think they scored 40 on St. Mary's or something like that.
Yeah.
They had a couple of games they had a lot of points. So I think it's going to be a good game. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see. And I'm not saying this about Lakeside. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if you see Manny, flip that switch and start, turning, L's into W's.
I'm glad you said that because those Lakeside fans, they are fired up.
They're
man. I tell
excited.
you
They
what,
should be.
Yeah. I mean,
They're really good.
We didn't have them. I want to say, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We didn't have them. I think they were out of town, and we heard all about it from the lovely folks in Sibley. So we got them this week. We'll be at the game with Manny. And you talk about Coach Ware. It's amazing sometimes in football how a change of scenery can do wonders for both sides.
I don't think people realize how good he was doing at North Webster.
Right.
He had one of the harder schedules
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, their district has been weird.
It's weird,
Yeah.
but they play good teams every year, and they were always in the hunt. When I was at Loyola, it was us and North Webster for the district championship. And they ran that district until that 16, 17, 18 window, and then I think they had to switch districts or whatever. But they go out and schedule really good teams. North Webster did under Coach Ware. Now he is. A change of scenery. Now he's at Lakeside, and he's got that football base fired up,
Yep.
And rightfully so. And watch out now. I mean, you get Sibley fired up about football.
Mm-hmm.
You got a bunch of country boys in there that I mean, there ain't a whole lot to do other than swing a baseball bat, hunt, and fish.
That's it.
And now you get them in the weight room, and you get them playing, football for Coach Ware. Watch out.
Yeah, watch out indeed. And so there we go. We got Lakeside on. We're covering all the bases. So finally, and I give all of our guys that we have on a chance to do this. You mentioned the atmosphere the other night at the Evangel game and how special it was. It's going to be packed for you guys this week. Anyone watching it or listening to on whatever they get their podcast, maybe undecided what they're going to do on a Friday night, tell them why they should come out and watch some high school football.
This is going to be probably our most packed out game of the year. Coach Goggin tells us that with certain games, but he's really been stressing this one. We're going to have, 2 5-0 teams, district championship potentially. It's going to be packed. Our games are always packed. We always have our fan base is insane, and our student section and all that. We have a lot of people there. But along with that, I think we'll have more. And then Parkway, I think they're going to have a whole lot of people there. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Just a great place to be. I think our games are fun to watch because we pass so much. We put so many points up. Our offense is averaging over 50 points a game, and we just always have fun games. We usually have high-scoring games, which people like to watch. So if you want to be somewhere, if you're not free on a Friday night, then that's the place to be.
That's it. And I will say you guys are a dream team for TV folks because we know that we can go to your game for 20 minutes and we got some highlights.
Yeah.
The only bad thing is in Sydney's last week, she texted me toward the end of the game and was like, I don't know what to include. There's been so much. We don't have that, we don't have
Good
2
problem to
hours.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so we thank you for that. That's
Yes,
great.
sir.
And I did want to point something else out with you is this scenario seems much easier for you than when it's just me and you out in the field with the camera.
Yeah, I was thinking before this, I've done it so much. I've
Right.
had, interviews after almost every game.
Right.
So I'm definitely able, if I hadn't had the amount of interviews I've had, I'd be shaking right now. I'm nervous and stuff, but I've had so many, and I've just gotten kind of used to talking and stuff, and especially knowing both of y'all,
Right.
knowing him most of my life, and it just makes it easy to talk and talk about upcoming stuff and what's going on with the games and all that.
And exciting for us is that we'll still get to interview you at
Right.
Northwestern State. So
Yes,
we're
sir.
looking forward to that. Forkham, all that good stuff. Coach, anything else before I wrap it up?
No, it's a good week to get out and go watch a game. This was going to be a fun week. Halfway, we're at the halfway point, and so games really start to matter here late in the year. And I don't think you can find a better one than MD Ray Field this week, Airline and Parkway.
Well, we're fired up for that. And man, I tell you, that football season
Goes quick.
It is fastest 15 weeks of my life here. So we're fired up. Ben, thanks again, man. You were great.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all you out there checking us out each and every week. Don't forget, Friday Football Fever, 10:30 on KPXJ every Friday night. This has been the 3 Fever Point After podcast. We'll see you here next week.